This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Yeah. He's coming. Ready? Sam, you ready?
Yeah, I want to make sure that the video, I want to make sure it's not flagged for broadcast.
Just want to warn you, the tape is on. We're not having a little trouble here. So be careful what you say.
Oh, it's good. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the second regular meeting of the month for Sylvania Township Board of Trustees. Today is Tuesday, January 17th, and the time is 5:01. Dave, would you call the roll?
Here. Here.
Here. Could you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you very much. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes for our January 3rd meeting. I'll move to
Second? Yes. Yes.
Yes. Next item is any additions or deletions to the agenda. Do you have anything, Neil?
I do not.
Gentlemen?
No.
There's one item here, Mr., is it Smothers? Are you the only one here? You're on the agenda, Mr. Yoder, but there's another name on here. Is that with you or is that something else?
No, it's something different.
Okay, we'll catch that later on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go to the zoning department. First of all, is the operations report for 1923.
Good evening.
Hi, Darrell.
The board has received the zoning department operations report for September through December 2022. Nothing really significant to point out on it. I can address any questions the board may have.
I didn't have any, I thought the report was pretty good myself. I don't remember getting this report. Is this something that, at the end of the year, I didn't remember it.
Yeah, well, this is every 4 months. Each
Oh,
department doing it, just
I'm sorry, I
have a
missed
small in
that.
January.
Okay, it is new, but it's a new procedure.
Right.
I missed that now.
3 months. Every quarter, isn't it?
No, it's every 4 months, so it's thirdly.
It's like
We call it every quarter.
Okay.
Every
4 months.
Okay.
We didn't
Next
call
summer.
it
Making it difficult.
Yeah,
Okay.
if there's no questions, Errol?
So the number of units dropped substantially in the fourth quarter or the tail end of the year there?
Yeah, well, all year is kind of running behind where we were a year ago. Of course, a year ago, we did very well also. I guess I just would speculate with the higher interest rates and the supply chain shortages and all that stuff that's been going on. I think it's kind of finally catching up with the housing market.
Makes sense.
But we're based on the value, and the values are up, so. But I understand, it definitely looks like a dip to me in the number of units.
If you average out the last 2 years, 2021 and 2022, we're still averaging 100 single-family dwellings a year, which is what we've been running for the past several years. It's just that 21 was a phenomenal year, 129 for housing permits, and this year, or excuse me, 2022, we get 72 permits.
If there's nothing else.
Thanks, Daryl. Appreciate your time doing that.
Next item on the agenda is the complaint on Wolfinger Road. Daryl, do you want to let Mr. Yoder go first, or do you want to go first? Let's let Mr. Yoder go first, if you don't mind. But stay up close, Daryl.
This has been an ongoing problem since the neighbor moved in recently. He has brought in junk cars, he has towed them in. At the last count, counting what's behind the old barn, there's probably 18 junk cars. Hoods are missing, windshields are smashed, tires are flat. They were moved there years ago, they haven't moved. He's brought in 2 pull-behind travel trailers, one of them is junk. That when the zoning department was out there on the 30th, he moved it up next to the lot line. It's about a 40-footer that's uneven and dirty. This has been an ongoing problem. Mr. Potter laughs at all of us. The zoning department went out, as you can see from the emails, in 2019. Nothing was done. We met with the Township's attorney, John Burrell. You'll see in the material that I gave you that there's some smart aleck comments about Mr. Burrell and I. We lived across the road from, across the hall from each other in New England Lane when we were both in law school. We met with Mr. Burrell. Mr. Burrell said that you can see from the email there, these are definitely junk cars as defined by the Ohio Revised Code. Zoning department said they would do something about it. It's been 3.5 years, nothing's been done. He's bringing more and more stuff in. There's other pull-behind things behind the new barn that he's built. And quite frankly, the neighbors and I are sick of it. They have called the zoning department. I know of at least 4 neighbors that have called, and all they get is we are working on it. Well, it's been 3.5 years. You would not want to live next to that. My neighbors and I do not want to live next to that. And like I said, Mr. Potter's laughing about it. The last thing I got was he's aware of the problem and he's going to work on it. No, he's not. I know it. You know it. I don't have to live like that. When I bought my place, my father drove in the driveway, turned around, drove out, and told me I lost my mind. I fixed it up, chainsaw, plowed, raised 4 horses, built onto it. I put a lot of money, a lot of time and effort. I don't have to wake up in the morning and look over at that junkyard that's over there. And like I said, I've lost patience with it. He brought in a 32-foot cargo trailer that he parked out in front. And if you were there the last couple of days, he's parked it out next to the new barn that he built. So like I said, I supplied all of you with a copy of the Ohio Revised Code. I was told that there was to be a search warrant that was needed. There's no search warrant needed. You've got copies of the Court of Appeals, the United States Supreme Court. If it's out in the open, you do not need a search warrant. And like I said, I'm tired of it. I'm not a fool, and I don't like being treated like a fool. And that's exactly what the zoning department's done to us for the last 3.5 years.
Thanks, Tom.
So the zoning department received this recent complaint on Friday the 6th. Following Monday the 9th, Dean went out, our compliance officer went out and investigated it and concluded that there was a violation. Spoke to Mr. Potter, the property owner. And by the way, Mr. Potter, just for kind of a reference here, he owns 2 properties. The one closest to Mr. Yoder's, it has a single family dwelling and a large pole barn. and then a much larger property that straddles both sides of Wolfinger that's primarily agricultural, and on the north side of Wolfinger has about, let's say, 3 outbuildings. So Dean addressed it with Mr. Potter, who acknowledged that the property needed some work. Dean conferred this to Mr. Yoder that same day. That was the last day that the Dean took, because he had to take some time off, some personal time. He's actually joined us this evening, but he was not scheduled to. He did drive out there this evening before the meeting. There has been, just in the past week, some improvement on the property. And once Dean is back in the office tomorrow or Thursday, we'll contact Mr. Potter and see what his time frame is for cleaning up the rest. Most of the vehicles on the property do not meet the Ohio Revised Code junk vehicle requirements of being extensively damaged, apparently inoperable, and over 3 years old. It has to meet all 3 of those qualifications. There's some that may meet our new property maintenance code vehicle requirements. It's kind of iffy on that one. And that's only been in place not even a year. So the previous complaints on the property regarding the vehicles, the only thing we could have addressed was junk vehicles, in which case none of these appear to meet that. And then there's a few other odds and ends on the property that could probably be considered debris. Some of it's farm equipment, which if it's being used for agricultural purposes on the property, then that would be exempt. I think that's the gist of it. I sent the board the photos from January 9th, and I may approach the board. These are the pictures that Dean took today. Actually, let me get you the other ones. These are the ones from the 9th. These are the ones from today.
So Darryl, when you say most, that means most, or there's a few that are junk back in here when you term the word most cars?
From what we can see from the street, I don't know if any of them are actually junk. We cannot go on to the property without the property owner's permission, so we have to view it from the street or from the complainant's property.
Do they have to be registered and licensed? And I thought that was something when.
For the property, the new property maintenance code, yes. Not for the ORC zoning resolution.
I had a hard time with the email from today stating that it just started on January 6th. When I'm looking at emails from 2019, it said in the one email that he inspected it on November 30th. So I can understand Mr. Yoder's frustration and belief that nothing's moving forward here. I think everybody has patience and tolerance when you think things are improving, but when nothing's getting done for many years, I think people's frustration level builds. And so, I find it kind of a misrepresentation when you say it just started on January 6th and now we're kind of escalating it. I think Mr. Yoder has waited long enough. And again, there's a pretty simple way to go back there or schedule a meeting with Mr. Potter to see if these vehicles work, to see, what ones he's going to get rid of, or, have a plan. I mean, we're not asking anybody to change this overnight, but I think somebody has to have a plan and we need to enforce it. And I think that's what our maintenance code is. And I think that's, we get the reports every month that say, the zoning violations and the status of them. And to not see that and to see an improvement, I think that raises everybody's frustration level. So I'm a little frustrated to start with.
So question, when you do reach out to Mr. Potter, do you knock on his door or do you pick up the phone and call him? How does it? Do you know, how does that work?
I would have to have Dee answer that one. In regards to the property maintenance code, we've had it just not quite a year yet, so any of the complaints prior to that time, we only could address junk vehicles, which, again, these don't seem to meet that definition. The November 30th, Dean determined, excuse me, there was no violation at that time. The January 6th complaint states that more vehicles were brought in since the November 30th time.
Do we have pictures of November 30th to see what was brought in additionally, or what, if we're not able to go out there and inspect, how do we know none of these vehicles were not operable or met the 3 criteria to call them junk vehicles?
I've got pictures for the last couple of years.
Okay.
And this isn't something that just started on January the 6th. Like Mr. Yoder said, this has been ongoing for years. And the biggest problem that I have, probably the most difficult thing that I have to deal with, is disabled vehicles. Because it's so hard. I don't know if you remember, just recently, you guys passed to further legal action for a Mary Hill case.
Mm-hmm.
That Mary Hill case, those cars have been sitting in that driveway. You can look at aerial pictures. They've been sitting in the driveway since at least 2007. But I've been told time and time again by John Burrell that there's nothing that we can do about those cars because they don't meet the Ohio Revised Code junk vehicle definition. And it's very similar with Mr. Potter's situation. The majority of the vehicles on his property don't meet this criteria. So to say that we haven't done anything is not necessarily the case, because I have, talked to Mr. Potter about some of the trailers and what have you, but the vehicles on the property, it's going to be difficult. And I tried to go the property maintenance route with the Mary Hill case. That's kind of getting pushed to the side, and John Burrell's going back to the junk vehicle code, the Ohio Revised Code. Whether that goes through is I don't know if it's going to happen or not. But, I guess one of the things that, looking through the Ohio Revised Code, one of the things that we could potentially require from Mr. Potter, if we can't get rid of those cars because they don't meet the junk vehicle classification, we can, and I can give you copies, I've got it highlighted here, we can require that he puts up some screening.
I was going to ask that question.
6-foot fence, plant some shrubs. It says it right here that we can require that. If we can't make him get rid of them because they don't meet, the junk vehicle definition, we can make him put up some screening so Mr. Yoder doesn't have to look at them every time he drives by. He did recently add some additional trailers, at least 2 or 3 trailers, so that pushes him over the limit of the number of trailers that he can have on the property. And I'm going to address that. I contacted Mr. Yoder last week. I went out there this afternoon, and he's made some significant progress on getting some of the general stuff cleaned up around there. So, it's a work in progress, and it's not something that we've just blown off for the last several years. It's something that, it's continuing. Every time you drive by there, he's got something different. And I've sent him letters, and called him on the phone, and he'll make a little bit of progress, and then 6 months later, I'll hear from Mr. Yoder again, and I'll go back out there, and I'll either send Mr. Potter another letter or call him on the phone and say, you need to take care of this stuff. Does his property look the best in the township? No, it doesn't. He's out there, he's on 15 acres of agriculturally zoned property. A couple years ago, it was being used agriculture. They were growing crops on that property. He doesn't have anything growing there now, but realistically, he could fence that big parcel of property in and put 100 head of cattle in there if he wanted to, and there's nothing we can do about it. So, it is a work in progress, and I'm going to continue to work with Mr. Potter to see if we can get things taken care of. Like I said, I'm fairly confident, even working with John Burrell, because I've heard it for years on the Mary Hill case. There's nothing we can do about it, and I'm sure it's going to be the same way with this particular case too. But I would like to at least see if we can get him to put up some fencing, some type of screening, so the neighbors don't have to look at that when they drive by there.
So Dean, is that ag there or residential ag?
Residential ag.
There's two parcels.
Please. Go ahead. No, I don't, please don't speak up. Somebody else has the floor. Go ahead.
There's two parcels. The smaller one that adjoins Mr. Yoder's property has a single-family dwelling and a large pole barn or garage. The larger property that's 15+ acres that straddles Wolfinger is agriculture. There is no dwelling anymore on the property. There's still, I think, 3 outbuildings, 2 or 3 outbuildings on the north side of Wolfinger. There's no dwelling.
So Daryl, I drove by that, and the question, it appears that those cars are sitting on the residential property as opposed to the ag.
No.
So,
No, most of them are on the ag property.
are they? Okay.
That pole barn and is on the agricultural side of the property. The part where the house is just a very small parcel.
Okay.
Where the barn is, and there's a couple of other accessory structures there, that's agriculture, and it crosses across within the road.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks, Dean.
I thought the maintenance code was taking care of this. What did I miss?
That was
that
my
was
hope,
good, yeah.
that was my hope, but honestly, I'm not getting a whole lot of support
It
on
sounds like we're all
enforcing the
getting-
property maintenance code. You know, like I said, I cited the Mary Hill under the property maintenance code because for years I've been told we can't do anything about that. So I was all excited, hey, we've got this property maintenance code.
Mhm.
They don't have current license plates and they're inoperable. Let's get rid of them. Well, that's kind of gone by the wayside and we're back. You know, I'm only doing what our attorney tells us we can do, and I'm only, you know, we've got this, you know, going down the road right now with the Mary Hill case. We're back to the Ohio Revised Code, and that property maintenance code is just I don't know if it's even gonna be enforceable. It doesn't appear that dealing with a disabled vehicle portion of the property maintenance code, and when it comes right down to the nitty gritty, if somebody fights us on it, whether that's even gonna be enforceable. I think we're gonna have to go back, that's gonna be a John Burrell thing, but when we're looking at taking the Mary Hill case to court, he's hanging his hat on the Ohio Revised Code, not the property maintenance code.
So has John had a chance to see Tom's
Well,
lawsuit?
apparently he has, because Mr. Yoder just said him and John Burrell had a conversation, which I knew nothing about. I was never part of that conversation, didn't even know that it took place.
But there's some,
We'll give you another-
yeah, hold on, Tom. There's some, Tom had sent us, and I'm not sure if he copied you guys on that at all, some Ohio statutes, some lawsuits where they were actually have been overturned in the state of Ohio. I'm not sure, Tom, did you get a chance would that be something John Burrell has seen or not seen?
He hasn't seen it yet.
Okay,
I
so that may be step number one, is to get Burrell those statutes there that were overturned in the state of Ohio. Because there's 2 cases, right, you said?
No, that's the open.
Sorry, yeah.
I was told before they couldn't go on the property because they needed a search warrant. That's, whoa, it's open right there. Anybody can see it that goes by. They're disabled. They haven't moved in years. There are burnout cars that are sitting there next to that place that's been there for 5 years. So don't tell me about disabled vehicles. They haven't moved. They've got a bunch of
I've got
windshield.
photos that pretty much track what's been where, so.
That's right.
Let's, was John Burrell involved in the property maintenance code? I mean, why did we pass this thing if we can't enforce it? I mean, 'cause we all kind of put our neck out on the line thinking that this is what the residents wanted, so we gave us a bigger hammer. And now, I mean, how much time did we spend on it?
Mr. Mahoney, in answer to your earlier question, the small parcels where the house and the garage is,
I see, okay,
I
thank
didn't
you.
mean to do
Yeah.
that. This larger one, which is on both sides of Wolfinger, Sam, if you would kind of go out, sorry.
It's okay.
So my next question is, as you're digging that up there, how
All
can you
this
build?
here is one parcel. The Wolfinger Road cuts through it. That's the one that has no dwelling on it, but has several outbuildings, and that's where most of the vehicles are.
So I guess my question is, we had a similar situation on Holt Road a couple years ago where the resident built a barn first, and at the zoning department, it was a wad. Remember a wad there? Bulldozed the house, built the barn first, and then you guys are like, not you guys, but I don't mean it that way, but it was brought to our attention that you have to have a resident. So how could that guy build a barn if it's two parcels not connected together?
He hasn't built them. They've been there forever. There used to be a single family dwelling on the property.
Okay.
And that was
So I could,
abandoned, demolished, whatever. The outbuildings are all that really remains of the former use of that property.
The thing is, on agriculturally zoned property, if they build a barn and claim that it's gonna be agricultural use, they don't have to go through zoning to do that. So, you know, he could get away with, if he was farming that, he could get away with building a barn there, and there's nothing that we could do.
without it, okay.
I'm wondering, have you guys met with Burrell? Because I'm confused. I thought we tightened things up with the maintenance code, and it sounds like Burrell's given us the same advice we had before. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, it's very disappointing. But have you sat down with John?
Not regarding this specific situation.
How about Mary Hill?
Actually, that one is continuing to move forward. John Burrell's paralegal, I believe, sent Chief Long an email or a phone call, whatever it was. Apparently only the police could go onto the property to photograph the vehicles and the VIN numbers, so that we can proceed to court action on that one for the junk vehicles. I don't know, maybe Chief Long could.
I had a phone call with his paralegal last Friday, I guess, and just came back today. She said, I'll send you an email with the applicable codes. She kind of explained to me, I was a little like, why are the police getting involved in zoning and stuff here? Like, I've been hearing you guys talking, I'm like, I really don't want to interject police into this. She sent me the email just a little bit ago, and the way it was explained to me, according to John Burrell, through the paralegal, that they need police officer to go on the property, so we would be making arrangements with Dean, supposedly they've talked to Dean. We would go there with him, we do our junk vehicle thing and get the information they need, and somehow that will help them. We'll make sure Dean has that info, and then that helps them proceed through court. That's kind of my basic knowledge of the conversation, and then I gotta go through the email where I just arrived there this afternoon, and I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody over there yet to come up with Dean, because I'm a little hesitant to, is this a police action or a zoning action? So maybe Dean should shed light on. I'm curious why we have to go on the property, or I have to send a police officer on the property to declare these junk
I'm
vehicles.
kind of curious on that, because we've had brief conversations on that whole thing, and she told me that I needed a police report. I said, well, I can see having a police officer go on the property with me when I take the pictures, but I'm kind of unclear on the whole thing.
Okay, so we have some more discussion to have. I've got one officer who used to do junk vehicles, I'll hook up with Dean, but get some more clarification from
I
John.
know, that's fine, very well, but let's try to get back to Wolfinger. I mean, it sounds like we got a miscommunication or something. And I just asked Dave, do we go to county police court? Is that where we go? Apparently Dave thinks
Well,
we
it
could go.
depends on what you're trying to do, but if you're seeking an injunction, you would go to common police court, or if you're like a zoning violation, you would generally be in the municipal court. So that would be, but I would think that it would be, the prosecutor's office that would advise where we're going, what court, because it probably depends a bit on what you're trying to accomplish, and it might be on some of these,
I haven't been zoning in a long time, but when you have something that's ongoing, it's not just a one-off sort of thing. To me, that's municipal court if you can't get it resolved. If there's an ongoing problem, then you're probably heading to the common police court seeking an injunction. And then you can get on the property, you can do whatever inspections you need, I can see why the police would have to go there. I mean, you have a zoning guy wandering around looking at cars on someone's property, stuff like that. You probably want the police there, and let the person know so that there's not a problem that happens, someone get hurt. But I think, and there maybe need to be some procedure on how we go about, like, where the chief is a little confused on, well, should the police be involved in this zoning thing, or what's going on? Well, there probably needs some procedure on these sorts of things, that here's what we do, so we're not kind of going back and forth, what to do, because it's wasting time.
Yeah.
And, and talking to Burrell's office probably, and say, here, we need a procedure, so here's what we do, Chief Long knows what he's supposed to do, and then off we go, getting something like, and then on some of these things, like, you can file like an injunction action, which, either you win or you lose, and then it's resolved, junk cars are a problem, and you gotta be able to deal with them, because a lot of these people, they claim it's running, well, shit, it hasn't moved in, 3 years,
It's my understanding that zoning violations go through the Court of Common Pleas. Property maintenance code violations would go through the municipal court. It was Thursday evening when Angie from Mr. Burrell's office called me and I'll be honest, I didn't completely understand all the legalese of it as far as why the police have to go on the Maryhill property to collect the VIN numbers, but she was wanted to know how to get in contact with Chief Long or Deputy Chief Reddick to touch base with them, and it sounds like she did get a hold of them.
She probably gotta you guys probably need to get clarification with her on why the police have to be there. I mean, my gut is telling me that so it's just not you standing there, or Dean standing there in jeans and a t-shirt, leaning in this guy's car, and that people can get, in today's world, can get kind of irrational about it, so you probably want the police to do it, or at least the police to accompany you so you can do it.
It sounded like the way she talked that it was a requirement for us to take this to court, that the police do some kind of report and take.
Yeah, it could be evidence gathering, so that when you go into court, you've got someone there that, I think,
Verify the conversations and things, because, I get frustrated at 7:30 in the morning when the Edison people are in my backyard looking at my meter, and somehow they're able to get on our property, but our zoning department can't. I mean, I remember dealing with a case in your neighborhood, Neil, with a rooster or something, and our zoning department said we couldn't go back and take a picture, and I'm like, what? I can't believe if we know and hear, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. Mm-hmm. And so if we know they're in violation of our codes, we should have the right to go and verify that and then take steps to resolve it. And I do think having a police officer for safety reasons makes sense, but it certainly should be spearheaded by the zoning.
Yeah, zoning organizes it.
Yes.
And they get the police there to make sure that, the peace is maintained.
Yeah, that part I'm fine with. The part I was confused by, I was getting the impression that my officer was gonna have to do something to declare this a junk vehicle and all that, and I thought, isn't that zoning? I get standing by, because you're right.
Yeah.
Dean's just not his property. You get, people come out of their houses and,
yeah.
we don't want Dean getting hurt, so we'll stand by for sort of keep the peace, but it sounded like they want the officer to do this junk vehicle declaration. Which, like, if that evolves, then if it happens on Marriott, I mean, we gotta go do this on Wolfinger, and all of a sudden I got an officer going all over on zoning, and that.
We're probably gonna get it clarified, to make sure it's clear exactly what's required to get this done, to move forward.
Yeah, but I think we've got to move forward, right? And I agree with you, John. This is not a new case in my mind.
No.
And that's why we're getting that aging, I don't know if you noticed that report.
Mm-hmm.
I've asked for an aging report, on violations, because we get them month per month. But I think we've got more of a problem this that have come up 2 or 3 times. And somehow we gotta get a handle on that. And, I don't know what the answer is right now. I think we ought to sit down with Mr. Burrell.
Well, it sounds like this Mary Hill could pave the way for Tom.
And that's kind of, because I've got an open violation for Wolfinger dating back to July. For the same thing, and I've just been kind of waiting to see what happens with Mary Hill. Like you said, that's gonna kind of pave the way for how we proceed with these disabled vehicles in the future. If we can get the property maintenance code, and it's kind of my hope, to fly, it's gonna give us a lot of leverage. If we have to rely on this junk vehicle thing from the Ohio Revised Code, it's gonna be significantly more difficult.
Well,
So I've just been waiting on what we have going on.
If we're moving ahead.
Because like I said, Mary Hill's been going on since, we've got complaints dating back to that property to 2002.
Wow.
So, we're pushing that one forward, and these cars are on a residential property right next to the street. And so I'm trying to get that one pushed through, see which way we have to go with that particular case and see how we're gonna proceed with, and we've got a couple of others out there that are pending with similar to what Mr. Yoder's got next to him. I've got one on Heisler, I believe it is, that has a bunch of different cars in the backyard.
Couldn't we push?
Can we figure out exactly which way I need to go with it? It's really kind of difficult.
Couldn't we push more than one through?
Doing that.
Well, you're pushing on Mary Hill, why don't we push on Wolfinger also? I don't know, I understand, boy, this has been years. It seems to me, we gotta do something here. I don't know.
At least get a timeline in terms of what our expectations are, because again, the frustration grows as it just keeps lingering, and 2-3 years is just way too long, I think, for somebody to wait. And I understand a lot has changed in those 2 or 3 years, but still, we don't have a clear path forward. So, even when do we expect the Mary Hill stuff to move forward and things? I mean, if we're gonna wait till summertime, I don't think anybody's got the patience for that, or whatever the time frame is.
I think we gotta get some clear direction on this thing we just passed, the housing, thing.
Maintenance code, yep.
And has it been upheld in places? I mean, and the prosecutors, I'm sure they'll help that. And that is why we've kind of fallen back to the revised code, and that this other housing thing is stronger.
The state association can tell us.
Yeah.
Remember, you went to several townships when we did this. I think they would know if these cases have been upheld.
Well,
Somehow we got.
Can we ask Burrell to come to our next meeting and give us, his assessment of this situation, so we can get it clear from the horse's mouth, and then figure out where we go? Because again, this is frustrating, I'm sure, on everybody's part, because your hands are tied, and Mr. Yoder's tired of looking at it, and I do feel bad for the people over on Mary Hill. Those are much smaller lots, and it's much more confined there to be sitting there staring at those cars for 20 years.
Tom, is that okay? That we start with a plan on this thing? Is that a good a step in the right direction for you?
Like my linebacker coach used to say, do something, even if it's wrong. There's also the problem with the zoning resolution, with the trailers. You're only allowed to have the one. I sent you all a copy of it.
No, you're allowed to.
Two. He's got more. The only improvement he's done is he moved the cargo trailer over next to the garage. That's the only thing he's done.
I was out there. He just moved in, 2 or 3 of them over the weekend.
2 or 3 what? More
Trailers. Probably that black trailer and a new camper showed up.
He's got them behind the new building that he built. He's got them all back in there. I walked back. There's an easement when we sold the property to the park. I walked back the easement. They've got ingress and egress to get back to the property we sold off. There's junk cars back behind that barn that's back there in high weeds.
Sometimes they can't get an injunction, so if someone that violates the injunction, they can be fined. It's not going back and starting all over again. Oh, they're going to your trailer, got to start all over again.
Yeah.
He's got that blank seat behind his barn. No, you can see it from mine. He's got behind the old barn I'm talking about. He's got that junk trailer, that junk black car that's there. He's got the other one next to the garage. He's got the windows smashed out of it. It's got plastic on it. On the other side, he's got those burnout frames. He's got the frame up there. He just brought a disc in that he's got back in there. I mean, he's bringing stuff in all the time, and he's laughing at it. He thinks it's a joke. Like I said, he comes out and makes fun of me all the time. The one neighbor went down the road and he said, "Why is it a mess?" He said, "I do it just to piss Yoder off." Well, he's done that to all the other neighbors, okay? And like I said, he's laughing at everybody. He's not going to do anything.
Well, I think maybe a suggestion, ask Burrell to come to the next meeting.
Yeah.
But in between, I'd like to see, I think if we were going to the municipal court on Figlio, we might get a better turn, I think he would understand more of the problem. But I don't know the difference of what we're doing there. But it seems to me, if we could keep it local, that would be much preferred in my mind.
You said that zoning's common pleas though, right? Is that what you said?
That's how I understand it from what Mr. Burrell told me probably a year or so ago.
You could give us direction with that as well.
Well, I think Dave was saying,
Municipal zoning violations are common pleas.
I think we should get clarification from John. We need to tell John what questions we have, and so in advance, so we're not just tripping him out here at the meeting, and then the next meeting, and then he'll be coming back, and I gotta go get the answer. As much as we could articulate to him that here's what our concerns are, our questions are, and then he can be prepared, when he comes to the next meeting. So that will kind of move it along.
go ahead.
Kid, it's like I told Mr. Mahoney, John and I lived across the hall when we were in law school together. You can see in the emails there, we go back and I signed it, former resident. Let me sit down with John, go over the cases. Like I said, I provided you a copy of the Ohio Revised Code. Those cars are disabled, period. They haven't moved in years, they don't have tires. Like I said, there's trailers, there's pull behind trailers, you can see from the road.
Tom, I think the bigger problem is not only your problem, but there's other problems we're having in the township. I would rather approach it. Maybe, could you send a memo out, Oliver, get together and give Mr. Burrell the questions that we'd like answered, like, can we use municipal court? Or when, maybe if it's in the.
Yeah, where do we go?
Yeah, maybe we're, I don't know.
I would encourage you to come, Mr. Yoder, as well, so you can ask him the direct questions too.
I used to clerk at community court, it goes to community court, the violations. I worked there back when.
Well, somehow we gotta get a handle on this, not only for this case, but we have other cases. And at least you're moving ahead with Mary Hill. But,
Right. But I guess.
I almost
we have to
feel
keep in
like
mind-
if we lose, we lose, but I feel like we're gonna have to start to move ahead on these things. And if the courts tell us no, I guess they tell us no.
These zoning violations, to get to court, it takes a long time to get to that point. By the time I cited, by the time at his Burrell's office, they sent out a couple letters, and, the Mary Hill case, I cited them, well, he's been cited 20 times over the last several years, and he kind of, another one just stumps his nose at us because he's an attorney also, and he knows what he can and cannot get away with. But I did the property maintenance code violation back in April, I think it was. Here we are, in January, and we're still kind of hashing back and forth. So it's not like I can cite a zoning violation and next month it's gonna end up in zoning municipal court. It takes, I tell people, I said, well, how long is this gonna take to get taken care of? Well, it depends on what kind of cooperation I need. If I don't get any cooperation and we have to go and take this to court, we're looking at probably a year and a half before it even makes it into the courtroom. So, it's a long time consuming process to get this through the system.
Have you cited him, Potter? Several times. And he's still done nothing.
He's been cited every time he kind of skirts around things. You tell him that, he'll do something with a camper. There was one time he complained that he had too many campers out there. He got rid of a camper, it's just, but
He's still bringing more stuff in.
And that's why I said at the very beginning, it's an ever evolving thing.
Yeah.
He cleans stuff up and then brings more stuff in. He cleans stuff up, he brings more stuff in.
I've never seen him clear anything up. Nothing. He's bringing more and more, like I said, if you look now, he's got a disc that's sitting right next to him.
Well, I don't think that this would be a zoning violation.
No, it's jumps, he doesn't farm across the street anyway.
Okay, so.
I think we're gonna have to move on, but definitely we've got to, I think the board agrees, we've got to take some action.
Well, Darrell, one question I'd ask Burrell on behalf of myself here is, if the cat and mouse thing is going on for too long, can we enact a billing process for wasting Dean's time to go out there, and then we could use that as our play to put a lien, force further action? Because, I mean, for Dean to go out there, it's a 25-minute drive, let her drive around, there's other things that he can be doing also. So I think we ought to be getting compensated somehow for our time, and that could be, and that's the question of the attorney. Is there any stick on that to go ahead and go use that as the tool to enforce the zoning for the waste of time and lack of payment? Just like we do when we have high grass.
Thank you.
Hey, Tom, thanks.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is the police department, chief.
Hi, Paul.
Hey. All right, make it quick here. This is the authorized to purchase, 3 new police vehicles for 2023. And I know I updated Oliver at our last meeting here just a week ago. We did get good news on, I think, late Friday. The 3 vehicles that we ordered in 2022 that I said we still heard nothing on, we were worried Ford canceled them. Statewide Ford called us and they actually do have them. So now they gotta get them outfitted. So we took, I don't know, 9-10 months to get our vehicles that we ordered in 22, or at the beginning of 23. So at least we got those. So we gotta get this order in ASAP because it's a year from now before we get them.
If there's no questions, I'll move resolution 23-014, authorizing the purchase of police vehicles.
Second?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Tom, could you step outside or whatever your conversation is? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the road and service department.
Hey,
Hi.
I have a few things on the agenda, I'll try to get through them. One of them is resolution 23-010. This is to adopt the speed hump policy. I sent that out previously and had an amendment to it as well, some language. And also the Lucas County construction lines attached to that as well to show you what the design is. Basically, the reason to do the resolution and to adopt a new policy is the old policy was from like 1996, and a lot of times when I send that out, people ask, well, this policy is pretty old. Fortunately for us, it's still effective. I sent the policy to the engineer's office. They reviewed it in a couple different departments. Both department engineers said that the policy is still effective, and most of the language was still appropriate and useful, and that was the recommendation to maintain it. So I'm basically updating the policy for the date and to show the new board members that are on there that are current.
If there's no questions, I'll move resolution 23-010, adopt a new speed hump policy.
Second.
So,
Mr. Bano, call roll, Mr. Bano?
yes.
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 Okay, thank you. Next policy or resolution would be 23-011. This is to accept the bid and enter into a contract for our 2023 Sylvania Township Resurfacing project. This project includes roads off of Flanders, Crest Ridge, Arvilla, Woodridge, Davenport, Gingerville, and Westminster. Requesting to award the bid to Bowers Asphalt Incorporated and Paving Incorporated. The lowest best bidder was $504,550.20. I also previously sent you some information regarding that bid.
If there's no questions, I'll move resolution 23011. Accept the bid and enter into contract for the 23 Township resurfacing.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes, Rob, before we move on, I think you did a good job on the information you got on past work and also the other townships. Thank you.
Next resolution, 23012. This is to purchase 2 new F-250 trucks. Just like the police, I mean, you gotta get those bids in and quotes and purchase as soon as possible because just the supply chain. These are replacing 2006 F-250 and a 2007 F-350 truck. We're not getting another F-350, so it'll be 2 F-250s. Lowest bidder was Brandy's Ford. The state bid, for whatever reason, did not bid on Ford trucks. They did do the police interceptor Fords, but there was no state bid. And the Sourcewell cooperative purchasing program that we are part of also was a higher bid. So locally, which was fortunate, we can spend our money locally here at Brandy's Ford.
Nice.
If there's no questions, I'll move resolution 23012, purchase 2 F-250 trucks.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes,
Thank you. Those items were budgeted in the previous, for this year as well. Next resolution, 23015. This is the Ohio Department of Transportation computed our mileage and here in the township according to the revised code. The documents were in a small conference room for you to review and sign. Each one of those documents need signed. There's 3 of them. The current mileage in the township is 138.235. So we're steadily growing.
quite a bit of mileage already.
Yeah, so this resolution is just to acknowledge and accept their findings, and I concur with them.
Okay, if there's no questions, I'll move resolution 23015, accept the highway mileage report from the state.
Second?
Mr. Crandall?
Yes,
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Steve? Yeah.
okay, next item is fiscal officer, Mr. Zimpfer.
Yes, this is our month-end and year-end analysis. You can see our revenues are very good shape, better than last year's. And so we're have to be happy with that. But looking at the expenditures, our expenditures for 2022 come in below budget in every department in fairly significant amounts. And so I think the departments and Quick Return are doing a good job on trying to keep our expenditures down. And you know, the numbers that are right here reflect that. And that I think they're doing a good job. And so thanks to the departments and the people that are working in them, that are responsible for these things. So anyway, that's all I have.
And we don't do we take action on this?
No, it's just a report. So yeah, so I'm all done.
All right. Next item is item number 11, and it's a resolution to approve funding for the outside agencies. It says trustee, but Oliver, do you want to give any background to this?
Hi, Oliver.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Included in the agenda is the resolution that could be adopted by the trustees. This year, there was a total of $34,750, which was requested. Sylvania Area Family Services maintained their request of $20,000. which was the amount awarded last year. Lucas Soil and Water, their award last year was $800. They're requesting $3,000 this year for an increase of $2,200. Sylvania Arts is requesting $3,000, which is in line with the award from last year. And Sylvania Prevention Alliance is requesting $8,750, which is an increase of $2,000 from last year. Thank you.
And I think this number, when you total it, well, I know when I did. I don't know about Lucas County soil, 3,000, I don't know how, we started, since I've been here, funding them a little bit, but, and I know some of the rural townships fund them a lot more than we do, but we don't have much agriculture land left. I think $1,000 would be plenty this year in my mind. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
What do you think?
Yeah.
And if we do that, then we're less than we spent last year in total. But we don't have the fireworks in here yet. And I think that's up, Oliver, isn't it? I think I saw.
The fireworks are generally included in the same line item, the same appropriation as the community awards are with the budget. Right, there would be an increase in the cost of the fireworks anticipated.
Well, what I meant was I said it's less than last year, but maybe with fireworks it's not. I don't know.
The total amount which was requested this year was $34,750. So it would even subtract if Lucas Soil and Water is awarded $1,000, that would bring the total amount requested down to $32,750. The award amount last year was $30,550. So that's roughly an increase of just over $2,000.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Oliver, aren't we getting a credit for the fireworks that we already paid last year for this year?
I think they did the, go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. So the fireworks, we paid the obligation for last year. For this upcoming year, the fireworks were rebid, and the tentative recommendation will be to select a different company. And I believe that shakes out to be about $20,000 for the city and for the township.
Okay, that's what's always done. So we always kick in 20 for that, right?
Yeah, we had budgeted about 15,000. So in prior years, the total was 35,000. There were certain amounts which were defrayed by donations, and then the city and the township each budgeted about $15,000. And after the meeting, I'll double check on those. Just
oh, good. Well, thanks, Oliver.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll move resolution 23013, funding of outside agencies.
Second?
Calling roll, Mr. John.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Crandall.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is hearing of the public for non-agenda items. And this would be the zoning, another zoning issue, I think. Is it Smothers? Robert Smothers?
Okay, mine was a minor issue compared to what you had. Okay.
And Mr. Smothers, if you could just put your,
This is about
Mr. Smothers, for the record, if you could just put your name, give us your name and address, please.
We have it.
Oh, we got it on tape.
It's good to get it
On tape, put it on
I
tape.
did it. Okay. What I'm talking about is an issue with lighting. And according to the township rules, lighting shall be directed downward not onto the adjacent property. Well, I live on Ridgeview. There's a house on Robinson rolled over from me. She's got two floodlights in the back of her house. One's coming over on our property, my neighbors and mine, and the other one is facing toward Robinson. If you drive down Robinson, you could see it right in your face. So at 11:30, I called the township hall, asked for Oliver Turner, and the attorney gave me Dean Boyers. And I talked to Dean about it, and I said, he was sort of reluctant about the lights, and I said, well, come out and look at it. Well, he informed me he does not work nights. I said, okay. So in about it all, he asked if he could get permission from the neighbor people, the Fanslers, which I'm friends with. So that's Andrea back there. to go on her property. So I got permission, she called, told me I had permission, he come out, on 12/1 he come out. So he come out, went to the fence, took pictures of the lights, and I went out and talked to him, because I happened to be over at her house. So when I got done talking to him, he went over to my house on Robinson, and went in my driveway. So I went over there and finished talking to him, and he said, well, I could see where the lights are coming over. I said, okay. So that was 12/1. On 12/15, I called Dean and asked what was going on with the lights. He informed me that he had the Lutzes come in, and they were moving the lights down by 3 inches. Well, the one light. And I said, well, and he said, the case is closed. I said, well, the lights are still coming over. I said, the case is closed. I said, okay, I'm done talking to you. So in the meantime, I called Darryl Grouse, explained the situation. Then at 12/21, he called me back, and I explained everything going on. And I said, I've got pictures. And he asked me, well, can you send them? I said, I'm no good with that crap. I said, I'll drive over here. I only live 15 minutes, 10 minutes away. So I come over, showed him my pictures. And my pictures on the cell phone put the date you took right above it. And all he told me was, well, I have to get the township police out there to look at it. Well, that was on 12/21. Nothing's happened. The lights are still coming over, and the other floodlights still going out towards Brooks. I just want to know, who do I see to get the zoning stuff taken care of? Because obviously, I've been to the front office, and nothing's happened. It's not taken care of. So my question is if we're not going to enforce the rules, why have them? That's my question.
I think if you have trouble with the zoning department, you apparently went to Mr. Turner and what?
I called Oliver Turner first because I didn't know who to. They said, call Oliver Turner. I left a message with him, and he and Sue got Dean Boyers to call me.
Well, that would be the next step.
Yeah, well,
if you're not happy with zoning.
Well, I went through all that, but the lights are still coming over. I called Mr. Boyer back and told him, and he yelled at me and said, the case is closed. I said, okay. So then I called Darryl Grouse, and I come in and talked to him about it.
I heard that part.
And so here I am. What do I do to get the front office to do their job? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, let's hear from you, Dean or Darryl, either one.
First of all, thanks for coming tonight.
Huh?
I said, thank you for coming tonight.
No problem. I didn't want to come, but I want this problem taken care of.
First of all, for the record, never once did I yell at Mr. Smothers. Okay, I guess I'm not sure where, never once did I yell at you, ever. So.
Well, that's your opinion.
He was talking
You don't
about
need that.
his neighbor's lights. I went out and investigated it, and the light was, keep in mind, Mr. Smothers' house is every bit of 200 feet away from where this light is. And it's a small, I don't know if it's maximum of 150 watt light. But it was aimed towards his property. And, like he said, I looked at it from the Fansler's property, took some pictures of it, went around and looked to see if it did actually shine towards his house, and it did. I sent the Lutzes a letter. They were not happy about getting the letter. They came in and had to sit down with Darryl and I. What can we, and at that point in time, they'd already adjusted the light. It was, it's a round floodlight about that big. They adjusted it down 3 inches. So if it was kind of shining towards his, to move it down 3 inches, it brings it down about that much. The zoning resolution does not say that light has to be shining, pointing right straight at the ground. It says it has to be shining onto their property. I've got pictures of the before and after of when the light adjustment, and I told Mr. Smothers that the case is closed. Didn't yell at him. I just told him that the case is closed because they are in compliance with the zoning resolution. They have adjusted the light down. It's shining onto their property. He may still be able to see the light from his property. There may be some light wash coming over, but it is no longer directed at his property.
Can I talk? I'll show you my pictures if you want to see them.
Well, sir.
I'll take, yeah, that's fine.
Well, all right.
There's January 1. There's the light coming over from the house. Okay, is that down? Okay, that's January 1. Let me get some more. Let me get the main ones. Oh, there's the 21st, which is even better. And there's the 15th after his meeting and said the light was down. Now, is the light down? And that's only one. The other light was never turned down. It's facing parallel with their house heading out to Brookson Road. And if you drive down Brookson, you can see it's plain as day. There's my proof. Did you ever get the township police to come out?
I discussed this with Chief Long, because of the holidays and vacations and whatnot. Went back and forth for a few weeks. He was gonna talk to his, what do you call it? They do the roll call or whatever. I'm not sure where we're at with that. I know the chief is reluctant, to have the police get involved in zoning matters.
I just, when Daryl called me, I'm like, again, I didn't see a criminal issue that I just don't want the police show up, knock on Mr. Smothers' door or the other people's door, tends to aggravate the problem, when it's not a criminal issue. So I said, I'll mention it to my crews, which I did, drive by, but I mean, if we see something, it's not a criminal issue. So I made it clear to the crews, don't go up to anybody's house, don't walk in someone's backyard and try and look, because it's not a crime that we're gonna take an action on, but go ahead and drive down and just be aware of this. But none of them, and again, they were all very hesitant to not want to get involved in a zoning type issue, so, no, they haven't expressed anything to me. And even if they saw the light, unless you actually, because Mr. Smothers, I didn't see the pictures, I mean, I think you probably gotta be on the property and look and really see. And again, I made it clear, I just don't go knock on anybody's door and aggravate the situation, so they really didn't. So just, that's, the police involved.
Oh, you guys see the pictures.
Thank you, sir. I think we'll look into this and however we'll get back with you.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll be by the next meeting, but let's say within 30 days. Does that sound all right, Oliver?
Mr. Smothers?
That's what it takes. I mean, I'll take more pictures when they don't go down.
All right.
Trust me.
Is that all right, Oliver?
Yes, of course. The
Okay.
Lutzes are unique people. I could get Andrea up here, and she's got a whole book of police reports. He even will probably, the police chief even will know the Lutzes.
Yeah, and again, I know we take reports, but that's the problem, there's no criminal violations.
Well, put it this way.
Zoning.
They're so
Yeah,
bad.
I don't know.
And the Fansburgs had a weight thing at their house after her grandfather died. An 8-year-old kid rode his bike, and she's got 3 cameras at her house on Andrea's property.
Oh, wow.
So the kids wanted to go out and ride the bike. An 8-year-old kid rode out to the edge of or went across her property and went out the road. She called the cops, filed a police report.
Well, that's,
I'm just saying, that's what you're dealing with. And I know when they come in, can I talk to Daryl? He said, yeah, I heard him down there.
I think we all have the picture, and we'll get back to you.
Are they on Janet?
Thank you.
No, they're on Robinson's. They're
Okay.
right next to the Fansburgs. She
Okay.
could get up here and talk for 30 minutes about the issue she's having with them.
Okay.
But
Well, sorry you're having to deal with that, you know.
But I'm just saying, the lights are still up.
Yeah.
The code says they're supposed to be down. And no, they ain't just coming a little bit. Are they coming down a little bit, or are they coming right over? You've seen the pictures. Okay, that's my case.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dean. Thanks, Daryl.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the Safe School Route Information Meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to provide an update for the community that there will be public information meeting on January 25th, beginning at 6, lasting until 7:30 at the school administration building, 4747 Holland-Sylvania Road in the Zimpfer Conference Center regarding the Safe Routes to School program. This will be an open house style format, so individuals will be able to come and go at their convenience.
Any questions? I don't think.
No, they cut the busing off to St. Joe, so I don't have any questions for them.
Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is the Sylvania Township appointment, to the TARTA Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is an advertisement in front of the trustees. This would provide for roughly a 3-week advertising period with applications being requested to be submitted by February 14th, so about 3.5 weeks. This would put it on track for consideration at the second meeting in February.
Great.
Sounds good.
Sounds good, Alan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else? All right, I'm going to go into executive session at 6:10 on collective bargaining and employee compensation.
Who do we have attending tonight?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Turner and Assistant Fire Chief Nye, and I think Battalion Chief Kahan. Sorry about that.
Second?
Mr. Dillon.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
If you want to stay, we'll do
I think
that.
it's a tricky issue, man, and so many people have.
That's
This
enough snow.
conference will now be recorded.
Yeah,
My tape is rolling.
okay.
I'm going to.
Okay, I'll move that we come out of executive session at 7:06.
Second?
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Dillon.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes, no action to be taken. And then I'll move to adjourn at 7:07.
Second?
Okay, call the roll. Mr. Dillon.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
Mr. Sanders.
Yes. Thanks, everybody.
All righty, thank you.